For a certification of quorum.
Yes, Chair White, we have more than 50% of the members present.
Great, thank you. I have some remarks here. On November 29th, the GRCA held its annual employee appreciation event to honor all staff as well as employees hitting milestone years of service. This year included Adam Storer, Dan Walsh, Mark McKinnon, Sonia Rajic, sorry about that, Joe Green reaching 25 years, Chris Murphy at 30, Al Standron and Ann at 35 years, Gus at 50 years with the GRCA. Congratulations to everyone, and thank to all of the employees for your dedication to this team. My apologies for my mispronunciation. It's a problem I have. Okay, on December 9th, Conservation Ontario held its final meeting for 2024. Agenda highlights included regular program updates and comments on provincial initiatives. I am happy to inform you that we have officially completed all 6 regulatory deliverables as prescribed by the province in Regulation 68621. Each of these regulatory deliverables supports our mandatory programs and services. This includes the development and implementation of our ice management plan, the development and implementation of operational plan and asset management plan for water and erosion control infrastructure, the development of watershed-based resource management strategy, the conservation area strategy, and the Conservation Authority land inventory. And just, I mean, I was being a little goofy there, but we do appreciate employees. Long-term employees are the backbone of the organization. We all know, especially in municipal government, they are the organization. We come through, you know, we're here, we're gone. And the fact that we do have employees that stay that long is a good indication of the employees and the organization. So, you know, I just want to thank everybody who has been here for all that time. Go ahead, Sue.
Just an anecdote is Gus, I was there, I worked for the GRCA when Gus was first hired. And he didn't show up for his 50th, and I found a friend of his, and they're going to tell him off for it.
All right, well, thank you. Moving on to the agenda. And just so it's going to be amended, we've added a presentation from Two Row on the Grand, which is item number 9. So the motion is that the agenda for the general membership meeting be approved as amended. Moved by Sue, seconded by Gord. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Any declaration of pecuniary interest? Hearing and seeing none. Motion that the minutes of the general membership meeting of November 22nd, 2024 be approved as circulated. Moved by John, seconded by Colleen. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. No delegations. So we have presentations. Are they here? Okay, welcome. We've got Jay Billy and Ellie Joseph from Two Row on the Grand. Welcome. Just want to pop up. How are we doing this?
Is Ellie joining?
Okay, Ellie, are you there? Oh, there she is. Oh.
Okay, good.
So I'll just turn the floor over to you, sir.
No, thank you very much. She might not have great data coverage where she is right now, so she's keeping her video off. But oh, there she is. Hey, Ellie. That is my paddle sister. In 2013, she invited me to take part in the Two Row Wampum Renewal Campaign paddle, marking the 400th anniversary of the first treaty in North America between Indigenous people and settlers. And we paddled for 2 weeks down the Hudson River from Albany to Manhattan with about 200 others. 100 Indigenous people in their row and 100 settlers, allies in their row, and close enough to help each other at need, not so close that they're interfering with the way the other steers their boat, which is the teaching in the Two Row Wampum. And at the end of that trip, 4 of us from Southern Ontario, 2 from Six Nations, 2 settlers, decided that had such an impact on people that we needed to bring that experience and those teachings. We had teachings each stop along the way, to communities along the Grand River. So in 2016, well, in 2013, we started scouting the river up near Dundalk and all the way down to the mouth in Port Maitland. And we, trying to figure out logistics and how much we should charge people for food and finding camping spots for we don't know how many people. And it took 3 years. And in 2016, we did that trip. And at the end, went from Paris down to Port Maitland. I have quite a story of our passage through Elora Gorge, but if you want to ask later, that would be great. But when we got to the end, we had a sharing circle, and we had about 50 people involved. And in that sharing circle, we discovered what an impact it had on both Indigenous and non-Indigenous people. And I don't know which one of us said it out loud, but we turned to each other and said, how can we not do this again? And now this is our 10th year that we're planning now. And we have over 40 partnerships along the river. We've been given a tourism award for our partnerships, and we're getting more and more support. This past summer, for the first time, it became part of a credit course through McMaster University, where students in Indigenous studies or social work could get course credit. Of course, they had other work to do related to it, but that 10-day trip was, we now start in Cambridge, so not far. And that 10-day trip was part of their course. And other professors in McMaster who were not part of this have been telling Dr. Bonnie Freeman, who created the course, they wish they could have that kind of impact on their students, because they've noticed life-changing actions, feelings in relation. Ellie, would you like to chime in at this point? I'm getting choked up.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Jay. I will maybe progress a little bit further now after that description of what happened the first year. In 2017 to 2019, momentum grew a lot. 2020, we had to stop because of COVID. Jay and I and a bunch of volunteers continued on carrying the wampums anyway on a day-to-day sort of self-sustained program, which really, I think, impacted us because we were shown that people wanted to do this. They were dedicated to it. Now here we are, in 2024, thinking, how can we continue to do this? How can we sustain this program? We are grassroots. We are totally volunteer. And we do have an amazing key volunteer base of people, committee members and volunteers who are ready to step in at any point in time, whether it's around the year planning or being on the water during those 10 days. So it's really come a long way. 2025, of course, we want to go out with a bang, and we don't know what that's going to be. The other thing we are looking at for 2025 is to possibly and we'll make this happen one way or another, is to make a documentary film, because of the impact it's had and because of the history that we're able to share. The important part of the history, of course, is that our indigenous people, our Haudenosaunee people, are able to share our history without the false narratives. And that's a really, really important piece. So those are some of our goals coming forward, is to, keep spreading the word about the treaty, the Tura Wampum Treaty, which is based on friendship, peace, and respect. And how can we continue that going forward? I'll turn it back over to Jay, or perhaps we can start entertaining any kind of questions at this point.
And I'd like to start with a question for which I'll be looking for an answer towards the end of the presentation. And the question is, how can 120 to 140 paddlers going from Cambridge down to Lake Erie help the GRCA? Okay, give that some thought, and we'll continue on. Oh, I had a thought while Ellie was talking, and I've lost it now. Let's see now. We start each day with the words before all else, part of Haudenosaunee tradition, where you focus on each aspect of creation, from Mother Earth through all the things that live on Mother Earth, the vegetation, the trees, the animals, and the birds in the air, the sun, the moon, all aspects of creation. And we thank each one of them for continuing to do what the Creator has given them to do. And that sets us up for appreciating everything that's around us and each other. And we encourage each other to ask for help when needed and give help when you're able. And we build community as we go down the river. And a lot of friendships have been developed. And people find, non-Indigenous people find that Indigenous people aren't so scary after all, and vice versa. One of our Indigenous participants who was brought up traditionally was told growing up, don't go near those people. Nothing good can come of it, with good reason. And he said this is the first time he's really engaged with non-Indigenous people, and he found it a very positive experience. And so these kind of relationships are built in this kind of community where we're helping each other, we're moving down the river, we're sharing meals and cultural teachings, and yeah, we would like to know how best we can engage with the GRCA to be mutually beneficial. Right? We'd like to make a stronger connection here. Are there any questions?
Do you have an answer to his original question, Sue? Or? Go ahead.
Thank you. Bon, Ellie, you said something about go out with a bang in 2025. What does that mean? You're not ending in 2025, are you?
No, no, we are not. We are not aiming to end with 2025. We sent a couple of links for you to watch. You can look at those on your own time. But there is some footage of us coming into Port Maitland And for the people who've paddled for those 10 years, it's really a celebratory, you know, thing, not only for the individual, but for the people witnessing it. And so, when we're thinking of going out with a bang in 2020, trying to go through the communities and see, is there something that the community can do, number one, in recognizing this history in the making, and number two, when we get to the end, what will that look like how can we make it special? How can we do this? Because it is a commemorative thing. I did speak of the documentary. Certainly we aren't going to have pyrotechnics down at Port Maitland, although it did cross my mind. But we want sustainability for this, because every participant that's been on the journey recognizes the powerful statement that it is.
So I could make some suggestions is to get more press. People constantly ask what reconciliation is. And I had the privilege of meeting with Chief Ava Hill a few years ago. And at that time, in Ayr, we found out the first Indigenous hockey player was from Ayr. But he was never, ever recognized until he was nobody knew he existed till he was 16. That was because the family was hiding him from the residential schools. So we presented Ava Hill with the NHL hockey shirt and at center ice, and she said, "This is what reconciliation is. It's respect." And this is exactly what you're doing when you paddle side by side, respecting each other's space, but supporting each other in need. And the public, as politicians, we get to see this and we get to hear it. The public doesn't. So I think we've got to turn the press towards you. And as you travel each journey, especially in 2025, the one you're going to do, if we can hit the press in every local community, asking them to cover your story as you travel, and talk about the journey of reconciliation. That's what I'd actually call it, the journey of reconciliation, and make that your title. And I'm sure each of us in our communities will support you along the way as you go, but we would need a communications person saying when you're going to be where, so that we can support you at that time. But yeah, let's work collaboratively. And I'm not talking with just the GRCA, but with all the communities along the watershed that you're going to go through. Because the public's wanting to hear, they want to know what reconciliation is and what an example you guys are.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments and your considerations. When I think of reconciliation, it is twofold, for the ally, for the settler, for the communities that we paddle through. It's for them to relearn what history, the truths of history. That's the job, and we're trying to, teach that from Indigenous scholars, Indigenous knowledge keepers within our community, and also for people such as myself. I'm Mohawk Turtle. I grew up in a climate of racial discrimination. It still happens. For my people, it's learning to heal, learning to heal. And so I agree with the impact. And that's possibly where this documentary can come from. I really like the thought of communications through media, through press. We've been trying to do this for many, many years, and we get little snippets of like Haldeman Press, for example, has come and spoke with Jay, myself. We've been on CBC broadcasts, things like this, and I mean, if we can heighten the awareness that, hey, on these days we are coming through, perhaps there would be people who would be able to attend some of our teachings. There are locations on the journey where the spacing, participation from outside the community, the space is big enough for parking, etc., where we do invite people to come in and listen to our teachings, or even just to witness us paddling down the river. Thank you for your input.
All right, thank you. John, you have a thought?
Okay, so based on the question that was asked by the delegate, what can they do for the GRCA? It might be advisable to have the delegate meet with the appropriate member of staff to have that discussion, and then come back to a report comes back to a future meeting of the board, and we understand what is being proposed. Because I think to have this conversation around this table, it's kind of how was the camel created? It was created by, is a horse created by committee?
Mhm.
So might be a lot better just to take it offline.
Thanks, John. David?
Okay, in deference to John, I want to work on that camel a little bit. I was thinking of a little bit along the same lines as Mayor Fox, and when you do the paddle, I like the idea of getting the media involved, getting it out on social media, traditional media, whatever. And we're going through a strategic plan right now for renewing our strategic plan for the GRCA. And one of the things that always comes up is a healthy river. And I think we guys, we have that in common. I would say we all want a healthy river. And maybe that's something you can promote as you go down the river, and just the importance of it. Maybe get some great photos, some great videos, because a healthy river is good for everybody. So I see that, like I say, that's something that's a priority for both of us. So
Yes, just a couple of days ago, we happened to run into the father of one of our paddlers at a Tim Hortons, and he works at Six Nations Polytechnic and would like to give several sensors, water sensors to people paddling, so we can test the waters all the way down and compare what's going on there. Yeah, so Mark Servos from U of Waterloo comes and does a river study with us. He's done it at 2 different points in the river so far, but we like having him back each year. And this year and going forward, we plan to stop at Brant Park and Bing Island conservation areas, and be really helpful if the staff there knows what we're about. Yeah, we had a couple issues in the first couple of years at Bing Island, but things seem to be going smoothly now.
Thank you. Colleen? Go ahead, Sue.
Can I make sure I get your information so I can give it to our press before you go?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
through you, Chair. Definitely thank you for coming in and explaining what you're doing. One of the things I'm thinking about is the communication piece, which is critical, but also thinking about it specifically our municipality. We've got like our reconciliation team collaborating with staff as well on the local levels with the programming that you're doing, because I think that will help as well. And that'll also bring more people together in that partnership perspective. The other thing I'm thinking about as well is when how you're engaging with youth in this as well, because I think can be focused on kind of that adult-centric approach, but also, keeping in mind the 7 generations, looking at how we can engage, you can engage with youth as well along the journey as an education piece as well. But again, would love to get your information, because we do have with our area municipalities a READY team, which is reconciliation and action team that can also help with this, because it's kind of an everybody responsibility as well.
Okay.
It's speaking to the youth engagement. Last year we had 24 youth. When I'm speaking of youth, I'm thinking of, the 18 years and up to approximately 30. And it was really, a delight to have them along. this year so far, we have an ask of, I believe, 10 youth between those same ages that are coming from a church group. And so, you know, we are looking at the generations ahead. We do the best practices we can, environmental thing that we teach along the way as well.
Yes, we've had ages 2 to 85 paddling down the river with us.
Thank you. Pam?
Thank you for your presentation and for this project. 3 of us here are from Cambridge, so I'm pleased that you're going to begin your journey in Cambridge. And hopefully, you know, maybe we can do you know, coordinate with you and arrange, you know, a big kickoff. In terms of students, you're going right past the School of Architecture from University of Waterloo, which sits right there on the river. And we have River Bluffs Park. We also have Ancient Mariners, really active group of canoeists who might, if you're looking, is it 100 people or 100 canoes?
It's about, well, this year we had 90 people starting at Cambridge
Okay.
paddling.
So,
And
yeah. So,
yeah, and the mayor, starting a couple years back, granted us permission to camp in Churchill Park before our first day's launch. We launched from where the Petrocan station
Yes,
used to
okay.
be. Yeah, and so that's been very helpful that people from a distance in particular can come and camp the night before. And then yeah, we've had a police escort across Highway 24, and the mayor comes and gives greetings along with Mike Morris from Kitchener East or Kitchener Center,
Center.
and yeah, it's we're feeling more and more support from communities.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that something similar could be done.
Mhm.
And, you know, I think you just need to reach out.
Mhm.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for coming and presenting to us today. It's very much appreciated. And I think the direction I'm hearing from the board is to put something together around communication or partnership or however you want to phrase this. They've got some direction here. We'll certainly be reaching out and figuring out how we can continue to enhance that support.
Okay.
All right.
I apologize
Yeah.
that I did not bring brochures to hand out to everyone, but I will send a PDF copy to Yoan, and she can also share the 2 video links that I've sent. And thank you all.
All right. Well, thank you. We'll look forward to
Thank
getting
you.
links. Thanks very much. All right. Okay. So moving along, we're going to, our next motion is with regards to correspondence. I have a motion that correspondence from Sue Watson regarding a Freedom of Information request related to property known as the Niska lands and the 1977 newspaper article submitted with said correspondence, and from Gail regarding the GRCA's vision, mission, and values and environmental sustainability be received as information. And there was supplemental correspondence today with regards to the minister's fee letter. You all have that. So that's part of the correspondence. Can I get a mover for that, please? Moved by Sean, seconded by Dan. Comments, questions? All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Moving along to 12A, motion that a letter be sent to participating municipalities on December 20, 2024, advising them of the general membership meeting to be held on January 24, 2025, to approve the 2025 municipal apportionment of the general membership meeting to be held on February 28, 2025, and to approve the 2025 budget, and that the Grand River Conservation Authority 2025 budget draft number 1 and apportionment amounts be included with the letter. Moved by John, second by Bruce. Comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Audit Committee. Motion that the report of the audit committee be received as information and that the audit committee terms of reference dated November 22nd, 2024 be approved and implemented, and that the reserves policy dated November 22nd, 2024 be approved and implemented, and that the audit plan for the year ending December 31, 2024 proposed by KPMG Chartered Professional Accountants, Licensed Public Accountants be approved. Moved by Pam, seconded by Doug. Any comments or questions on the audit committee? Call it, we formally put John in the seat. So he's any hard questions, get him after the meeting. All right, call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Motion, cash and investment status. Motion that report number GM 1224-120 cash investment status, November 2024 be received as information. Moved by Jerry, seconded by Mike. Comments, questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Financial summary, that the financial summary for the period ending November 30, 2024 be approved. Moved by Sean, seconded by Pam. Comments, questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. I'll put the next motion on the floor. Okay, that Park Hill Dam. That report number GM 1224-117 Park Hill Dam be received as information. Moved by Rob, seconded by Gord. Comments, questions on this? Go ahead, Pam, please. Sorry.
Chair, I read the report, which is thorough in its way, but was disappointed that the ending is basically no action and no funding for action. So I expect you will continue to hear from constituents in Cambridge. Thank you.
All right. Okay, thanks. Okay. Anything further? All right, I'm going to call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Thanks, Pam. And all right. Next item. Brantford Ice Dam. Yeah, I'm just trying to. Too many papers. Well, you're moving ahead. Consent agenda. Let's get going. Motion that the Grand River Conservation Authority award the contract for the Brantford Ice Jam Mitigation Class Environmental Assessment for the amount of $134,355, excluding HST, to Matrix Solution Incorporated, and that a contingency of 10% be included in the overall project budget for a total project budget of $147,790.50, excluding HST. Moved by Kevin, seconded by Mike. Go ahead, Kevin. Sorry, it just takes a sec.
There we go. Thank you. Thank you. Can I say thank you more than 4 times? I mean, this is critically important to the city of Brantford. You know, a large part of our historical area of our city is floodplain, and there has been a lot of money spent by both the GRCA, watershed municipalities, of course, city of Brantford, building up the dike system. But in the case of an ice jam, the dike system can be topped, and almost was back in 2018. We had the last ice jam. So I'm very pleased to move this. I'm very pleased that we're moving forward with the environmental assessment to review and evaluate the various options that can be projects that can be put in place to minimize the risk to our community of an ice jam flood. My question to staff is, I mean, this is there's a lot of interest in this in Brantford. Those who live, especially in Eagle Place, are well aware of their vulnerability. And I think they would find this of great interest and would help boost the reputation of the GRCA. Wondering if you're going to be doing like a press release, something that might be just really kind of focused on the media in the Brantford area.
Through you, Chair. Thank you. Once we get the project initiated, we will be doing the notice of project commencement through the to meet the Class EA requirements. So at that time, we can also arrange to have GRCA do a media release on the project and work with City of Brantford to get it shared on social media as well and
Yeah.
get it put out that way.
Great, good. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kevin. Sandy?
Thanks. Just wondering, this ice jams occur all along the watershed, all along the river. Will there be any learnings from this project that can be applied to other areas, or is it very specific to Brantford?
Yes, through you, Chair. The learnings from this study are very specific to Brantford and the mechanics of the river reach and how it slows down downstream of Brantford. GRCA and Vahid has done a lot of work on the ice management plan that has worked on characterizing ice jams that have happened in the past. And again, they are very difficult to predict, but we do know the locations where historically they have been done and have done some work on assessing those reaches and continue to monitor and have monitoring in place for when they do set in place.
Thanks.
Okay, go ahead, Doug.
Supportive of this, reflecting back on Cambridge with the ice jam we had that took out the main water supply for South Cambridge, which included water to the hospital, because of the intensity of what we saw. So I'm glad we're aware of these issues. I'm glad we're working on these issues, and certainly supportive of this particular agenda item.
Okay, thank you. Anything further on this item? I will call the question then. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Next item is a residential wind down program. Joel, I believe you've got a little show for us. So we'll do the show, then we'll do the motion. I'll just turn the floor over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. So this is an update on the residential wind down program. This is an annual update. Through the 1940s to 1970s, there were significant land acquisitions by the GRCA, including a number of residential houses, residential properties. These were originally acquired predominantly for flood control, reservoir projects for flood control, while some others were bought for recreation and preservation of natural areas. Over the years, there were a number of reviews done, particularly in 2013, where there was a comprehensive review and deemed that a lot of these houses were not needed for flood control or strategic operations for the GRCA. In 2016, a report came to the general membership and it was approved. It was a 4-stage wind down process, ranking the various house properties from stage 1 being properties with the most immediate financial or condition liability, safety issues, to stage 4, ones that didn't pose as big a financial or liability risk that could be held on longer. So initially, when the program began, there were 45 houses, of which 34 were rented out to tenants. Today, there are 12 that remain, 8 of which are rented out. Over 2024, the most notable activity was we completed the sale of 5,500 Jones Baseline in the township of Guelph-Ferramosa. Demolition preparation was started for 2 other properties, being 66 8th Line in the township of Center Wellington and Elora, 5245 Wellington Road 29 in the township of Guelph Hermosa, and Rockwood. These are planned for 2025. Plans were a little bit delayed over 2024 due to staffing challenges and a lot of work required on dealing with encampments by staff. So this definitely impacted our ability to deal with some of these over the year. But nonetheless, we're still in great shape with stage 1 and 2 done and some activity over 2024. So the current status, as I say, stages 1 and 2 are complete. All residential properties have either been vacated and demolished or transferred to the parks as assets or sold. So the biggest risks are taken care of. Stage 3, there are 2 properties that remain and are occupied, and staff undertakes regular condition assessments and will continue to do so over 2025. And there are 10 properties remaining in stage 4, 6 of which are occupied by a tenant. So in addition, what we do every year is there are regular inspections and regular communication with tenants to understand are there condition issues that they note or ones that we note, either internal staff or external consultants as well. So for 2025, we will continue with the demolition investigations and process of the 2 properties aforementioned. Those are vacant. We're also going to look at the vacant property 6741 Lakeview Drive in Mapleton, Conestoga Lake. So looking at demolition and reviewing the disposition potential versus whether it's needed for other purposes for the GRCA. And then pending other reviews over the year, which are ongoing, 6 of the remaining 12 in total are expected to be sold, with the balance used for restoration, such as natural heritage projects, lake access, et cetera. So the recommendation is that report GM 12-24-115, residential program wind down status update, be received as information. Thank you.
See that? He's trying to take my job.
Oh, sorry about that.
I'm watching you. Go ahead, Mike.
Yes, thank you through the chair. These homes that we're demolishing, just by looking at some of the photos here, do these homes have any heritage assets? Like, are we knocking down homes that are 100 and 200 years old that maybe we should be keeping and repurposing for something else?
Through you, Chair. Thank you for the question. We review for heritage consideration. So there is one remaining that has, it's not designated, but it has consideration. So we'll evaluate it as part of the overall program, but the ones to this point were not designated.
Just a second. There's a big difference between designation or lack of designation by neglect and the age of the property and the building. How old are these buildings? They appeared to be some beautiful stone farm homes. All right, then maybe we haven't, got them under the heritage umbrella yet, and maybe we should have done that. So my question is, are all these homes going to be demolished? And do they have any heritage attributes, even though they're not designated? Designation's a red herring, by the way. Thank you.
Through you, Chair. So in 2016, when we did a review, we looked at a number of things. We looked at the condition of the house, whether or not it didn't necessarily have to be designated. I'm thinking there was a number of them actually in Guelph Hermosa Township that probably were similar fieldstone construction. If it was possible for us to sever and sell, then we did do that. So it didn't really matter if they were designated or not. If there was an opportunity for us to sever and sell, then the direction at the time too from the board was to consider that as well. So that consideration was taken into account. In some places, we were restricted in that we weren't able to sever the property. So then we had to look at other alternatives. There was a property just outside of Guelph where the stone that was from the house was then put into a repository that the city of Guelph had that could be used for renovations if people had for old fieldstone houses. So certainly it was a consideration and where it was possible. I mean, the one that's just as you're driving in from Cambridge beside the GRCA there, that was one of the properties that was sold as well. So if it was possible, they certainly were sold.
Thank you for that, but I'm just going to remind everybody, once those homes are gone, we're never going to get them back. They're gone forever. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anything further from, well, you put the motion on the floor, so can I get a seconder? Seconded by Doug. No, a firster by Doug, second by John. Got myself backwards there. All right, any further comments or questions? All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Thanks, Joel. Next item, ERA posting. That report number GM 1224-112, ERA posting 019-9325 permit to take water application be received as information. Moved by Christine, seconded by Jerry. Comments, questions? Go ahead, Colleen.
Is this on? Okay, thank you. Through you, Chair. Just reading through this report, it mentioned that there were a number of water takers in the area. Can you like how many water takers? And just explain a little bit about that.
Thank you. Through the chair. I don't have a total number of water takings. I do know that within the study area that the consultants of the aggregate company looked at for this permit, there is a substantive taking for a different aggregate pit that extracts water below the groundwater table, or sorry, extracts aggregate below the water table. So it also pumps water. There will be domestic wells within that area that don't require a permit to take water, but are water takers. And there may be others as well. There are municipal wells, not within the study area that they looked at, but just outside the area.
Okay, and then just one follow-up. The report also mentioned potentials of causing unacceptable environmental impacts or interference. What kind of environmental impacts or interference?
Through the chair, this would be a substantive water taking. So there would be 2 ponds that they would fully drain of water, and then over a period of a number of months, and then they would maintain the pumping to keep those ponds dry to allow them to extract the aggregate. So this pit is very close to the Speed River. There are a number of wetlands in the area. So that pumping would result in a drawdown of the groundwater table that could affect how much groundwater discharge supports base flow in the Speed River or other features in that area.
Okay, and would there be potential impacts? And I'm conscious of things like housing developments and things like that that this could potentially impact. Is completely separate here, or is there potential when we think about the builds that are proposed and all of that to impact?
Through the chair, so this is a rural area where most of the homes would be on a private water well. So I'm not familiar with what approved development might be going on in that rural area. The aggregate pit would be required to monitor impacts on domestic wells and potentially take action if there was a need to do so.
Okay, thank you.
Sue?
Wish you hadn't mentioned the word aggregate. I wish that we could not go below the water table at all for any aggregate taking. I guess I'm gonna leave it there.
Throw a grenade in the room. All right. Any further? Sandy, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. I knew that would get you, Sue. Just to be clear, we're just commenting agency. We really have no authority on something like this at this stage. Is that correct?
Sorry, through the chair, that's correct. That's right.
Okay, I share Sue's concerns.
All right. Okay. Did I read this? Yes. Did I get a mover and seconder? Look at me go. All right. Call the question. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Next item, update on watershed-wide wastewater optimization. That report number GM 1224-122. Update on the watershed-wide watershed-wide wastewater optimization program be received as information. Moved by John, second by Pam. I'll get you next time, Lisa. We got a little presentation here, and then I'll remember this time to call the question. Okay, here we go. Thank you. So Cameron, I'll just turn the floor over to you when you're ready.
Okay, thank you, Chair, and good morning, Board. My name is Cam Irvin. I'm the Supervisor of Water Quality, and I'll be providing an update on the GRCA Watershed-Wide Wastewater Optimization Program today. So the Wastewater Optimization Program is a voluntary program that started over a decade ago as a pilot study and is open to participation among the 30 municipal wastewater treatment plants in the watershed. The program is a partnership between the GRCA, municipalities and their operators, and the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks. The program aims to make the most of existing infrastructure and people using data-based decision-making to produce the highest quality effluent, reducing the spending on expensive infrastructure upgrades to ultimately improve the water quality in the Grand River. So there's been many successes over the years, starting with a 92% reduction in total ammonia nitrogen loading to the Grand River from wastewater treatment plants since 2012. So the orange bars on this chart show the total annual ammonia loads, while the blue and orange lines represent the flow-weighted mean concentrations for winter and summer, respectively. The dashed lines at the bottom are the GRCA voluntary targets that are used in the wastewater optimization program as effluent targets, which are more stringent than the individual plant's environmental compliance approval or ECA requirements. These GRCA voluntary targets were developed using realistic obtainable targets and extensive work that was done prior to the start of the program in 2012. This next chart shows annual phosphorus loads since 2012, again with the bars representing the total annual loads of total phosphorus. The green line being, again, the flow-weighted mean concentration, and the dashed line representing the GRCA voluntary target. While you can see there's some year-to-year variability, overall, we're seeing a consistent decline in total phosphorus loading to the Grand River. Since 2012, there's been a 35% reduction. You'll notice, looking at those two lines, we're still slightly above the voluntary target for total phosphorus. So in 2024, the optimization team undertook a special study to visit 6 plants in the watershed that were identified as consistently achieving those voluntary targets for total phosphorus. So the site visits sought to learn from those plants their best practices, document those processes and key metrics, and use that information to share that with some of the plants in the watershed that are less successful at hitting those GRCA voluntary targets. The reporting and knowledge transfer portion of the study is underway and will be completed in 2025. Another important component of the program is the annual workshop. So this is an annual workshop that's held in November at the GRCA head office, where the GRCA shares with the municipalities and the MECP our annual report. The event invites staff from municipalities, the operating authorities, and the MECP, and it's an opportunity for municipal partners to share stories, best practices, lessons learned, and highlight their successes. We encourage participation from all levels of municipalities, including supervisors, managers, and the operators. And this year, we received tremendous feedback, particularly from the operators of the municipalities. So as you can imagine, each plant in the watershed is obviously very different with over 30 or with 30 plants. But oftentimes they face very similar challenges, and the operators really enjoyed the opportunity to discuss those challenges and learn from each other during this workshop. It provides a great opportunity for co-learning and networking with industry colleagues within the watershed, and provides a forum to gain valuable insight from each other. And of course, a big part of the annual workshop is the recognition program, which we always end with. So our recognition program scores the individual plants on several categories, including their ECA compliance, data validation. So from a technical standpoint, that's sludge accountability and water balance. They're scored on their enhanced reporting, and importantly, whether or not they are meeting the GRCA voluntary targets for total phosphorus and total ammonia nitrogen. This year, we had a record number of plants that received recognition, and those plants are listed on the screen here, with 3 plants receiving gold, 6 plants receiving silver, and 5 plants receiving bronze. So overall, you can see 2024 is a successful year, and we look forward to continuing the program in 2025. So with that, I'm happy to answer any question.
Sue.
Thank you, through you, Chair. So why in 2023 was the blip up? And and you said you're looking into where people did it right, and what the solution was?
Yes, so there was a slight increase in total phosphorus loads. I mentioned there's a record number of recognition awards given out this year. So there's more plants that are hitting those targets, but larger plants have a larger impact on the water quality in the Grand River. So if some of those larger plants aren't quite hitting those targets as consistently, that's going to have a bigger impact. So not each plant has a consistent, or yeah, the impact is bigger from the larger plant. So that's why there could have been the slight blip.
So, but we've looked at it and we've dealt with it, and hopefully we're going to hit targets in 2025.
Yeah, so we're in the process of learning from those plants that are consistently achieving those targets and sharing that information with those that aren't.
Go ahead, David.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Couple questions. This annual workshop, you've been having this for the last 10 years, is that correct?
Through you, Chair, yes, that's correct.
And how long have you been doing the recognition?
Through you, Chair, I believe, looking over at communications, maybe I think at least 6 years that I've seen the records for.
And I've never heard of it. And I read pretty much everything that comes across my desk. It just, I don't know. It'd be nice if it got out there. Like I said, this is the first I realized Brant won anything. So it's a good way. It's a good news story, right? So I'd like to share it. Don't know, but I think we could do a better job of that.
Sorry, Dave, just so you know, there's a press release that's put out on that every year.
Okay. Unless it gets in the air news, I don't know. What I wanted to ask too, as far as I was talking to Janet earlier, and I know we talked about this table, but as a percentage of the contribution of phosphorus and nitrogen into the river and then consequently going to Lake Erie, it's less than 25% from wastewater, say, compared to farm runoff. I know it depends on the time of year too, but
So through you, Chair, yeah, those numbers are likely fairly accurate, yes.
okay. It's just, I think it's a good news story, and I'm glad to see the progress. It's just I'm frustrated because I see in our jurisdiction a pig barn go up beside a municipal drain, and I'm thinking that probably is going to offset a lot of the good work we're doing, but I don't want to take away from it. And but I think we sitting around this table got to think of all the other sources too. So yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Any further comments or questions on? Go ahead, Ken.
Mr. Chair, I say this half jokingly. Why did Guelph only receive bronze?
Yes.
Can you hear me? you elaborate on the rankings for me and how that works?
Yeah, so through you, Chair. So it's a very objective scoring system. There's a scoring matrix that gets communicated to all of the plants annually. So there's points that are awarded for each month that they hit the GRCA voluntary target for total phosphorus and total ammonia nitrogen. So if those targets aren't hit on a given month, they lose, say, for example, 5 points. And then at the end of the year, we tally up all the points, and it's a very objective scoring system that all of the plants are aware of.
Just a quick follow-up. I think you elaborated on this already, but just for my clarity, what are some things that the operators can do themselves within their control that can kind of help with this?
Yes, so through you, Chair, there's lots of things, things from like verifying dosage of chemical additions, day-to-day operations, just making sure all of the equipment is properly calibrated and validated. And then that's where those site visits that we do are really important in communicating the importance of those little things to the operators.
All right, thanks, Ken. Anything further? Okay, thank you, Cameron. Appreciate that. I will call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. And now watershed flood notification system. Fahid, I believe, got a little show for us. I will turn the floor over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. This is the time of the year again that we provide a presentation of GRCA flood warning system. We had the flood management preparedness meeting on last Thursday, December the 5th. I will be going over the contents of that meeting. Basically, we had a relatively good attendance. You can see that it's not as much as what we had in 2003, but obviously at that time we had this meeting virtually. This is the second year that we're doing it in person, so there's a reduction in the attendance. Something that I'd like to bring to the attention of everyone is that of all the municipal flood coordinators that we have in the watershed, roughly 60% of them accepted the invitation to attend in person, and only 25% of them show, basically. And they are the primary audience of this meeting, so we would really like for them to start attending more in person and get the updates. But overall, we had a good variety of different organizations that showed up. We usually provide a test message that I'll discuss later after that, but we went over the flood response organization. We identified our staff that are involved in the operational decision making, and then reviewed our flood response components, our flood forecasting system, our gauging and the flood forecasting model, the river watch system, which are staff that go on the ground and look at weather conditions are and confirm it, the duty officer system. We are ensuring that there is somebody, a warm body 24/7 available for people to call and communicate if there are any emergencies. The flood message fan out system is I'm going to discuss shortly in the next one, and the reservoir operations, basically. We do have some passive control as well by regulating development outside of the floodplains. The flood message fan out system, we always go over it and we identify our primary audiences, which are police at both provincial and municipal levels, conventional media as well as social media, provincial ministries, adjacent CAs, ambulance services, and finally, the most important group, the community emergency management coordinators or provincial municipal flood coordinators. We sent that test message the week prior on November 28th. The purpose of that message is to ensure that we have all the right information and the contact information for municipal staff in case of an emergency. And fortunately, all municipal levels of a higher tier and lower tier municipalities receive the message and confirm receive it immediately or shortly after. So it increases our confidence that during an emergency, we do have the right contact information to communicate with people. Going through it, the staff provided some presentations. As you all recall, we provided an overview of our reservoir operations policy as a result of the requirements for regulatory deliverables under Conservation Authorities Act and Regulations 686/21 back in September. So staff went over to provide the flood coordinators and municipal emergency staff as to what were the proposed recommendations to the rule curves, which is basically simply giving us a bit of a flexibility in the early months of the year to store some water in light of the potential impacts of climate change and more melt and runoff that we see earlier than the spring freshet. I don't know what happened. Okay, yeah. We had a guest speaker, Trudy Kidd. She's a meteorologist with Environment Canada and Climate Change. She provided a very good presentation. I had requested it from her to give us an overview of what happened and what we expect to happen with respect to the weather, given how crazy this summer and fall were. So this is an overview of the long-term forecast by Environment Canada prior to summer. This is May 31st, and they were calling for, on the left side, you see the precipitation forecast, and on the right side, you see temperature. They were calling for, they didn't know what to with respect to temperature, precipitation, sorry. On that chart, whenever you see green, they're expecting above normal. Whenever you see brown, they're expecting below normal. White, I was under the impression that white means normal, but I learned that white means that anybody's guess is correct, probably. The models are not as strong enough to understand what or predict what's going to happen. And that's what we were. And on the temperature side, there was much more confidence, and they were calling for above normal temperatures, which is what happened. So this is what we got. On the left side, you see the precipitation, and as you can see, it's specifically in the middle portion of the watershed, we got more than what we were expecting, mostly due to the events that we had in July. And on the right side, you see the temperature, obviously, specifically in the upper portion of the watershed, we were warmer than normal. Then comes the fall. Again, at the end of summer, they were predicting the fall will be drier than normal and warmer than normal. And that prediction was correct, basically. We saw one of the driest falls ever. I think we were roughly 25 to 50% lower temperature across the watershed, precipitation across the watershed. And temperatures were a good 1.5 to 2 degrees higher than normal. Hence the dry conditions that we've been observing. Now, the winter forecast on the winter outlook. On the left, you see what the outlook is going to be for precipitation. They were very honest. They said there is a 30% chance will be below normal, 34% chance will be normal, 37% chance will be above normal. So it's basically, again, anybody's guess. It could be anything. And there is a lot of uncertainty associated with predicting long-term weather forecasts. They are really, really smart people. And I really appreciate the transparency of it. And on the right, they say what percentage of the time they have been correct when it comes to looking ahead and what the temperature or precipitation will be. And if you are below 40%, basically, don't worry about it. And they are that, and they're acknowledging that. In a lot of times, it is really difficult to predict long-term weather forecasts. However, that was for precipitation. This is for temperature. Temperature is easier to predict. And the temperature forecast is that there's a slight chance that we will be above normal conditions during the coming winter months. Something that was brought to our attention is that we are expecting a weak La Nina. And La Nina is a process that occurs when we see large-scale cooling of the ocean surface water temperature in the central and eastern portion of the Pacific Ocean. And when that happens, usually, not always, and there are exceptions, but usually it's associated with a bit cooler and wetter winters in southern Ontario. We're going to be seeing a bit more colder snapshots and a bit more lake effect snow, possibly. And this is a weak La Nina. And we were provided with two examples of in the recent history, the years that we did experience a weak La Nina. 22-23, I'm sure you all remember, it wasn't really that significant. We really didn't have big of a snow and much of a winter time. So it was very easy to breathe. But 2017-2018 was a different story. I think that's when Mayor Davis recalls the ice jam in Brantford. So the moral of the story is that it can go either way, basically. We have had La Nina before, weak La Nina before, and it did result in some catastrophic events, and in some parts it didn't result in anything at all. So hopefully it'll be like 22-23. Another presentation that was really good, and it was really our intention for other municipal staff to see it, is the County of Brandon staff provided a presentation on some innovative application of electronic river level monitoring. It's a radar sensor. You can see it on the right. It's the size of a coffee mug, basically, not bigger than that. That's been mounted at the bridge right upstream of the confluence between Grand River and Nith River in the city of Paris. It provides reading of river level basically constantly. It's an battery operated device. It uses the radar technology. It's wireless. It uses cellular technology for communication. It does not have any cables. It doesn't require any utilities or power. Very easy to install, and it provides up to 10 years, depending of the interval of the reading of that battery use, although it's like daily. I mean, you don't want to go that course. There's a possibility to change the frequency. Staff can operate it using a small cell phone, basically an app, and then they can assign warning levels for their own municipal staff. And then it's a very, very, I would say, effective, low-key technology. It's a fraction of the cost of a conventional flow measurement that we have right now, and they are showing a very good application. I mean, we here at GRCA are also implementing it as a redundancy. It's not going to replace the current system. It's another level of added measurement that we are using it at some of our reservoirs. We're testing it. Obviously, it needs to be tested specifically during the winter time because there might be some anomalies over there. But it's a very good application of the technology, so we just wanted to share it with them. And finally, our communication staff provided the presentations on GRCA's roles and responsibilities during an event with respect to sending messages and then sharing the information with social media as well as conventional media, and the available online tools that we have that community emergency management coordinators can use, whether it be flow or rainfall information on our website and all the other resources. That was it. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Sue, you're ready to go? Go ahead.
Thank you. Just in your map, it shows that the only area in pink, which means message not received, is a portion of it's either Six Nations or Mississaugas of the credit. Is that by their choice?
Yes, through your Mr. Chair. Yes, it was, and then we did follow up with them. And
thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Colleen.
Stop punching. Okay, thank you. Yeah, the slide where you had the participation rates, can you put that up again?
Absolutely. I'm not sure which
very first one,
very first
because
one.
we were talking about the involvement and how you've seen the involvement get lower for people attending. I'm talking about the flood coordinators, that one with the participation.
Oh, I'm
It's
sorry.
the very first one. So the municipal flood coordinators, the attendance was 25 compared to 63, and be it one was in person, one was virtual. But those flood coordinators, are those municipal flood coordinators?
I'm really sorry. Some technical issues here. It is that one.
So you had it up. So I mean, those of us around the table, so reflective of that. So
Yes.
The drop in participation there, and pretty much every municipality does have one or should have one.
Through you, Chair. That's a very good question. Some municipalities have more than one. So we had some municipalities that 3 or 4 of their flood communication staff or coordinators were here attending. 25 doesn't mean that 25 different municipalities were.
Okay, that's quite concerning. I take it as just given what we've seen in terms of climate change, flooding across this nation and even locally. So, and I don't know if there is further ways to communicate or promote the importance of this, and be it through us at the table or what have you. But considering what we're seeing with the climate change, I find that very concerning that there is more uptake and participation.
Thanks.
Jerry?
Yes, thanks for that presentation. Through the chair, and kind of following up with Colleen's comments. So was the meeting offered virtually this year? Obviously, the 23 in February was virtual, but is that option there for the anyone to attend virtually? Because if not, it should be, being as we're doing it as a board. So was it offered virtually?
Through you, Chair. And no, it was not. We intentionally started providing all our meetings for all our organized departments in person. We value networking and seeing people's and communications before and after as well. As a result of that, we were hoping that people would show up. And this meeting has always been presented in person prior to COVID, and now shift to virtual world. So we were hoping that people would take the time. It's not more than an hour and a half in a day to come over here and present it. And staff from really southern portion of the watershed, County of Brand, made it no problem whatsoever. So we were hoping that we could have the same participation from other organizations or other municipalities.
Okay, thank you.
David?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question. If there's a possibility of a tornado touching down in my area, this darn thing goes off, you know. If there's a 4-year-old child missing in Ottawa, this thing goes off. If there's a possibility of a flood, and I lived on Grand River Ave in Brantford or one of those low-lying areas, say New Hamburg, I would love to know quickly that there's a flood alert. Is there any discussion about people signing up for alerts or using the phone to alert people?
Through you, Chair. Again, I'd like to reiterate it. Our role and responsibility is just to provide a warning to municipal emergency management coordinators. They will provide you with some information. However, to answer your question, I think you can subscribe to our X feed or the previous Twitter and social media, and you'll get notifications whenever we issue them. And that you will receive that the moment that we issue it to our municipal flood coordinators as well.
Okay, can we drop the slides? Sue? Go ahead, Sue.
Yeah, our people get the flood alerts all the time. Now, I don't know if it's just, if you do it down to our chief and then our fire chief sends it to them. But as soon as our municipality knows, so do the people. Thank you.
Yeah, it's important to understand here that we're providing information, but the municipalities are responsible for the communication. So if there's any gaps, you need to take it up with your folks there. All right. Okay. Thank you, sir. I'm going to put the motion on the floor. Report number GM 1224-118 Grand River Flood Warning System be received as information. Moved by Mike, seconded by Brian. Anything further? Call a question. All in favor? That is carried. You're hiding behind Ken today, Brian, so I can't see you. Okay, current watershed conditions. Motion that report number GM 1224-121 current watershed conditions as of December 3rd, 2024 be received as information. Moved by Lisa, seconded by John. Sorry, moved by Lisa, seconded by Guy. Comments, questions? Call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Thank you. They appreciate it. So we're moving into a closed session here. I have a motion that the general membership enter a closed meeting in accordance with the Municipal Act, Section 239 for the following purposes: litigation or potential litigation. Moved by
Merry Christmas to all.
So,
Party.
Is that my echoing or?
That's Rob.
Oh, sorry, Rob, go ahead.
No, I was just saying Merry Christmas to all.
We're not done yet. We're not, hang on. Don't get ahead of yourself.
I'm ready to check out.
What? Okay, here we go. I have a motion that the minutes of the previous closed session be approved. Moved by, let's get somebody new. Kevin and somebody new. All right. You're not new. Sean. All right. All in favor? We have risen. And I would remind folks that there's a couple of meetings coming up in January. The one that's little stands out by itself. Friday, January 17th, we've got a hybrid strategic planning session. I think it's half a day. So 9:30, and there's that, and then there's the rest of the mission. So that said, we're all set to adjourn. Now, I'm just going to say, I've timed out now, so this is my last shot up here, I believe. I'm not sharing that on the 17th, am I? Just to start. I just want to say, I've chaired a few things, and this board's, and I'm not blowing smoke here. This board is actually, it's been a pleasure. It's quite a board. I mean, you got 26 members. It's diverse. It's huge. There's a lot of different personalities around the table. And I think it works very well. You're all very cooperative and working together, and the questions are strategic and they matter. So it really has been a pleasure working on this board, and you can congratulate yourself, because not all conservation authorities work as well as this one does. And that's a reflection of the board. But more importantly, it's a reflection of staff. I mean, we've got, as you know, and I've said this before, and I'm sure you all support it, we've got incredible staff here. We really do. And they've got a complicated business to attend to, from flooding to tree planting to, like, you think about the incredible plethora, look at that word, stuff that they've got to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Public ministries, you get letters from the ministry at the last minute, stuff like that. It really isn't, it's not a simple business, and staff are excellent at what they do. And I think they've been very responsive, and the board has been well served by staff. So I do want to thank you and all the staff through. It really is appreciated, and it's been an absolute pleasure. So with that said, Merry Christmas to all and happy holidays. And for those who are here, we'll see you in the thing. And Merry Christmas to you, Rob.
Yeah.
The motion to adjourn. Sue, got you while you're waving. And Dave, all in favor? We are adjourned. See you on the 17th of January.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays.